Hi guys, today we're going to talk about the past perfect. I'm going to start by reading a few sentences that I wrote, and I want you to really focus on the use of the verb tenses while I'm reading. And I will post what I wrote in our Blackboard course shell too, so you can read it. Okay. Many years ago, I traveled around Europe. While I was traveling, I met a lot of interesting people and saw some fascinating sights. I learned a lot about European history that I had not known before I traveled there. I had finished my studies and I had graduated from college. And I decided to travel before I came back to the US to go to graduate school. The students had arrived by the time I got to class. We had already begun to eat by the time Sally arrived. My roommate had forgotten her keys, so she could not get into the house last night. When Kirsten and her date arrived, the play had already begun. So, have you figured out when we use the past perfect? So the past perfect is the subject plus had, the past tense of have, plus the past participle. Not the past tense, the past participle, the third form of the verb. We use the past perfect to show that something or several things finished in the past at an earlier time, before something else happened or before many things happened. Now, the past perfect is pretty easy compared to other verbs because many other verb tenses in English have so many different uses, such as the present perfect. It has so many different uses. The past perfect only has one. Something happened first. Something happened second. Use the past perfect for the event that happened first or the action that happened first. But it's very difficult for students because we rarely use the past perfect, especially in speaking. Native speakers don't really talk using the past perfect because it's not necessary. If you want to show that something happened before something else, just use time words such as before and after to show the time relationship. So, for example, I could say the twins went to bed before I came home, or I could say the twins had gone to bed before I came home. The past perfect is not necessary because before shows what happened first and what happened second. You can just use time words with the simple past tense. So why do we need to know the past perfect? Well, because the past perfect is a written academic tense. We use it in writing. You will use it for academic papers. Also in reading. All novels and short stories have the past perfect. Writers use it to go back in time and to show that certain things finished before other events in a story. If we look at this short paragraph and look at the verb use in the past, we'll see that only one verb is used in the past perfect, which is fairly typical for there to only be maybe one verb in the past perfect, one or two, just to show what finished first. So if we look at this, after the United States had bought much of the western U.S. from the French in 1803, there was a lot of interest in this area of land. The U.S. President Thomas Jefferson supported an expedition to explore this region. He chose Meriwether Lewis and William Clark to lead the first expedition across the United States. These men crossed the country by both boat and foot from the East Coast to the Pacific, while Lewis, Clark, and their men were exploring the United States. From 1803 to 1806, they gathered important information about the country's plants, animals, and people and land. At that time, the expedition was a huge success, and people still study the information that Lewis and Clark learned over 200 years ago. So notice the majority of it is using the simple past tense to talk about things that happened in the past, that happened in the same time or in order. We only jump back with the past perfect to talk about what happened first before all those other things happening, that the U.S. had bought much of the western U.S. Okay, and then what did they do? And then we have one use of past progressive to show that something was ongoing for a long time when other things happened while that was happening. Lewis and Clark and their men were exploring the United States. Okay, and while that was happening, they gathered important information. Okay, so something was happening at a specific time in the past. Can you think of ways to finish these complex sentences using the past perfect? So, for example, when I came to the U.S. So, what had you already done when you came to the U.S.? When I came to the U.S., I had said goodbye to my friends and family. When I finished high school. So what had you already done when you finished high school? When I finished high school, I have to think about it, well, because that was a really long time ago for me. When I finished high school, I had received good grades for 4 years. Okay, so you could think about other sentences that you could ask your classmates to finish. Or you could have your classmates finish the sentences with 3 different sentences or 3 different clauses, and then you have to guess which one is true. You can then guess which one is true, or guess as a class which ones are true, and then look over your classmates' use of the past perfect to make sure that everybody used it correctly. You can also ask your classmates questions about their lives using the past perfect. Okay, so for example, what had you done before you came to the U.S.? What had you done this morning before you came to class? We could also look at pictures and write stories about what had happened before what's in the picture. Okay? So these two children had a tea party. But what had happened before the tea party? Okay, so this little dog took a nap. But what had happened before the dog took a nap? So there are a lot of fun ways to practice the past perfect and to make sure you're doing it correctly. Okay. Also, after you're done writing or speaking, it's always good to look back and edit your own work or edit your classmates' work. So just a reminder, past perfect, subject plus had plus the past participle, and we use it to show that something finished in the past before something else or before another time in the past.